First of all, I just want to say thank you for doing this interview with me.
You're
I really appreciate it. I think it's really important for everyone to be able to talk to their surgeon and to feel confident in their surgeon, and I definitely feel like that with you, so thank you.
Thank you, I'm glad.
I won't obviously beat around the bush with everything because people just want the questions answered. Everyone really did leave some good questions, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Question number one is, I am a K-cup looking to get a reduction. Do I have to get a nipple graft?
So the answer is maybe, because at the end of the day, it actually, yes, when you're big, there's more chance that you'll need a free nipple graft.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to detach the nipple completely rather than keeping it attached and on a pedicle with a blood supply.
Yeah.
So with you, because you're so large, we had to detach it. So, and it's to do with the distance from kind of roughly from here to the nipple. And with you, it was really
quite
long,
large,
I can't remember,
50
centimeters. Yeah. And so as soon as you see something like that, when it's more than 45 centimeters, 45 centimeters, that's when I'm thinking, okay, we need to do a free nipple graft.
So is it avoidable in terms of, because you said, do I have to get it, and is it avoidable? Like, is there an option where you would say, no, I won't do the nipple graft? Because I know with me, you said you didn't want to chance it.
Yeah, no, generally so when you're sort of 40-ish centimeters, and I had someone recently actually who was, I think, 39 centimeters. I was looking at it going, you know what, you're a maybe.
Yeah.
But I need to make that call on the table.
On the day,
so you do it as a not free nipple graft, so as a pedicled nipple.
Okay.
And then you look at the blood supply of the nipple. What you want to see is that tissue bleeding healthily. So where you've cut it, you want it to have really good, healthy blood coming out.
Yeah.
Whereas if the blood supply is dodgy, either there's no bleeding, that means there's no blood getting into the nipple, or if the blood is really dark and blue, like it means the blood is not getting out of the nipple, it's just staying there, because veins, the used blood is bluey, fresh blood is pink. So if it's white, it means no blood getting in. If it's blue, it means no blood getting out. And if that's the case, we worry and kind of go, okay, right, don't care whether it's a problem with it going in, going out, input, output. Actually, this is looking like a dodgy blood supply. Fine, let's switch to a free nipple graft.
Okay.
And with this lady, actually, no, we were fine.
Okay, nice.
And we didn't have to do it, but every now and again, you have to. Yeah.
And the second question I have is, do you remove the breast tissue and then put in implants?
You can. So sometimes women come to me asking for an uplift. And it may have been you, for example, and I know you were very big. Okay, so you wouldn't have necessarily, you wanted to be smaller.
I wanted to, that was my intention. I didn't want anything.
But it could be someone who's got breasts that are drooping like yours after kids is the typical thing after breastfeeding. And they would say, look, you know what, when I put a bra on, I'm actually quite happy with how much I've got in the bra. I don't even use a padded bra. I don't use a push-up because I fill out the bra happily. I wear sports bras which have no padding. And I'm happy. So, but when I take my bra off, they're horrible. They sag down. So can you do me a lift?
Okay.
Now, I'm a little bit controversial when it comes to this because, yes, people do uplifts where they use your own breast tissue, they lift it up and they hold it in place with stitches, and then they reduce the skin, they tighten the skin up, like a breast reduction, pretty much exactly what you said.
So I was going to say, is that the same?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for a lift versus a reduction. A lift is a reduction where you haven't reduced the breast tissue, you've hooked it up, and then you're keeping it held in place.
So you're mainly removing skin in that situation. Okay.
The problem with that, and this is where I am a little bit controversial, okay, so you may want to go and see other surgeons and talk to them before you believe me, but honestly, I think I'm right.
Yeah, I believe you're right as well.
I would say that. But the problem is, if that breast tissue dragged down and you had that heavy breast tissue down there and you've got nothing up here, it doesn't matter what you do because your tissue is stretchy. That's why everything went south.
Yeah.
So I can lift it up, I can tighten the skin, but because you're stretchy, it's going to stretch back down. It's just going to do it again. Yeah. And so all I've done is I've made you exactly the same, droopy, but now with all the scars. Yeah. And you're turning to me going, look, I'm worse.
I don't really want that. Yeah.
I'm worse than I was before. At least I didn't have the scars. At least I was just droopy. So what I tend to do with those patients who want to stay roughly the same size, I tend not to do uplifts these days. I do a breast reduction like you, and then I'll put implants in. So imagine now you went on to have implants, and you can do that at the same time. There's a couple of posts on my Insta showing that. There's even one post where I say why I don't like uplifts.
Yeah.
That will explain it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, for everyone that wants to know anything to do with an uplift or to do with implants after a reduction, Nav has all of the information on his Instagram. So if you do have any other questions or want to know anything else about other surgeries he does do, on his Instagram, he's got everything in his highlights, stories, posts. So yeah, that's
thank you.
good to know. Question number 3 is, how does it affect milk production? How does a breast reduction affect milk
really
production?
Important question. Okay, so if you are pre-kids, you haven't had kids yet, and you're thinking about having kids, then you need to think really carefully before you have a breast reduction. Because generally speaking, if you can breastfeed after a breast reduction, it's a bonus. Okay, so you need to be prepared not to be able to breastfeed if you're going to go through this surgery. So you're young, you may still go on to have more kids.
Yeah, I've got one.
You've got one. So if you do, it could very well be that you can't feed your next child.
Yeah, which I was 100% aware. That's the first thing you made me aware of when we had our appointment.
So what I say to people who haven't really, a lot of young women haven't thought about this because you haven't even thought about having kids, let alone whether you want to breastfeed them and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I actually say, look, go and speak to someone, like one of your elders almost. You go and speak to your mum, your big sister, your aunt, someone who's had
breastfed
kids
already.
Because actually one of the things you may not have thought about, and maybe I'm being patronising, I mean, not a lot of women have thought about this, but if you haven't thought about it, think about how you might feel when you have a baby and now you can't breastfeed it.
Because obviously breastfeeding is one of the main bonding things
you
have when you have kids.
And it might be that if you can't breastfeed your baby, I don't feel like a real woman. I don't feel like a proper mum. Am I abusing?
There's so many other questions that are going to be in the background.
Was I selfish when I had surgery back in the day to reduce my breast when I was young? Was that stupid? Now look at me. I can't look after my baby properly. Yeah. So do think about that very carefully, because generally you cannot breastfeed after a breast reduction. That's the
so basically, if you can breastfeed after a reduction,
great, bonus.
You're quite lucky.
You're lucky. Bonus, great.
I can speak from someone who's breastfed with large breasts, and that was crippling. My milk production was very high. Obviously having lower boobs, the milk, I remember just flooding all the time. Obviously my boobs aren't up here, so it's not like I'm able to catch the milk. I literally would walk around my house and leave trails of milk on the floor. It was hell, I'll be honest, and I didn't enjoy it the way that other women may have.
You weren't filling up the washing basket.
Good one. But at that point, yes, I was. I was. So again, women, if you are thinking of having a breast reduction and you want to have kids after the breast reduction,
think carefully.
Question number 4 is, do you have to have side liposuction?
Not always. It depends on whether you've got the tissue down the side. And generally speaking, the women that do have a lot down the side tend to be on the heavier side, in which case should you be having surgery, because you do want to be at a healthy BMI. We can come on to that.
Yeah, we're going to go on to that,
Maybe is the answer. Some women actually have a bit of extra breast tissue down the side. And for them, yes, sometimes I do liposuction. I have to say I don't do it very often. Because one of the things that happens when you have a breast reduction is that tissue tends to get pulled in. Okay. So actually, it naturally moves it, because when we tighten things, when that happens, you're pulling the tissue in from there, and you are twisting this tissue up. Just touch my mic. You're twisting it that way, so you get the fullness here, which is good, and you hopefully reduce a bit of the tissue there. But
because obviously on mine, where my scarring is, obviously you've taken quite a lot from here.
And I will have removed quite a bit there anyway. And if you do have a lot of tissue there, we may have to make your scars go quite a way back.
So
mine's
are not too bad.
Medium. You're not short. You're
mine's
not long.
Middle of my armpit.
The other thing that's also worth mentioning at the same time is if your scars do end up having to go quite far back, there's a higher chance you may get what we call is a dog ear, a little bit of a fold of skin there. And you've got to think carefully about having that corrected, because it might mean that your scar has to, then you correct it, well, you've got to pay for it again and all the rest of it, if you're having it privately. And the scar ends up going around the back quite far, and you may not like that. It might be better to have a little bit of this extra dog ear thing that you can hide in your bra, rather than a scar that maybe pops out of the bra.
Yeah, and obviously you did, Nav did make me aware of that when we had our initial consultation. So everything that is a possibility of happening after surgery, during surgery, whatever, he does make you aware. So when you do have your consultation, or if you do decide to book, he will explain everything. Why does your BMI have to be between 27 and
yeah, I mean it varies. Again, if you're going to
with your height,
if you're going to qualify for having a breast reduction in the NHS, it depends on which part of the country you're at. We call it the postcode lottery. So every part of the country has a different criteria for what BMI, what other things. Generally speaking, you've got to be a healthy BMI. BMI is a crude measure. You know, it was in the news today. We know that, but it's the best thing we can do reasonably quickly. And we can do consistently.
So, for you privately,
so
why do you feel like?
So what I want, generally speaking, is I know that people with a higher BMI have more complications. And I have done operations in the past on people with high BMIs, and I've had some really serious complications. Patients, you know, the kind of stuff that can make you ill enough to potentially not leave hospital alive.
Wow. Okay.
So what it comes down to with higher BMI is, and this is not, higher BMI does not always mean that you are unhealthy. You know, I get that. But if you have a lot of body fat, that's what we're talking about basically. I need the thickness of your body fat to be reasonable, and it applies for tummy tucks, applies for breasts, applies for a lot of surgery.
So not just a breast reduction, in many
if you have
surgeries.
thick tissue and I'm cutting into a very thick layer of fat, it does not heal as well as a thinner layer of fat. Okay, the thinner layer, more healthy BMI thickness of fat heals way better. And if you've got a thicker layer that I'm trying to stitch together, the bits of the fat can die, it can turn to liquid, it can come out, it can get infected, the wounds can open up, they can then get infected, your chance of bleeding are higher, your scars are worse, your result can be compromised, and it can be a real problem. So that's why we are so strict about it. The other important thing also, the other big no-no, and I will cancel you on the day of surgery, and if you're a private patient, you lose all your money, is if you're smoking. Because your wounds fall apart, you get so many problems, and it's just not worth it, and I could end up killing you.
And that you don't want that as a surgeon, no matter what, even though it's not your fault, you know, you've done everything right as a surgeon. Whatever you do, if you don't listen to your post or pre-op instructions, you are going to cause not just yourself a problem, but Nav over here
and I don't want to be in the business of killing someone.
No, of course, that is the last thing you want as a surgeon. You know, if anything, you're here to help, and if you're not listening and you're not doing what you need to do, which again, I explained to Nav that I had to stop smoking, I had to stop vaping, and it is hard, but because
nicotine is the enemy.
Nicotine is the enemy, 100%, and it was hard, but I knew that I wanted this so badly. If you want it that badly, you will do what you have to do. I lost 20 kg before our consultation because I kept on getting rejected by the NHS, and I keep on getting the same question: why do you keep getting rejected? Why do you keep? And I didn't understand it at first until I lost the weight and I realized how much healthier I even felt myself. I'll be honest, if I had 20 kg more weight on me and had this surgery, I would have hated it. I would have felt so awful within myself. I would have still looked at myself and thought, why am I so big? Why am I not feeling healthy? So losing that weight.
The other thing also that you may have felt if you were still a bit larger is your breasts, because I probably did end up, we didn't have a choice. There's a size that, you know, I said I'll probably end up making you a bit smaller than you may want me to.
Because I wanted like a double D, didn't I?
Yeah, probably a C, maybe even a C minus. I don't know, but you are smaller, and if everything else is bigger, it all looks
it just looks so disproportionate. 100%.
And one of the things with breast reduction is that you may end up a little bit smaller than you want to be. Which I don't know, perhaps you are feeling.
No, we spoke about it, and I was fine with that. Do you know what? Anything that was small, I didn't even mind. You know,
usually women like yourself who've lived with this extra weight
my whole life, and
they don't care. Quite often when they come to me, just get rid of all
get rid of it.
I do not care, even if I have nothing left.
Literally,
I'd be happy because these are ruining my life.
100%. So BMI needs to be low for you to be happy, for the surgery to go well, for Nav to be happy in the consultation. And again, smoking, no, before surgery, after surgery. This is all just for healing and your life purposes. We will come on to payment, surgery prices in a minute. We wanted to get kind of all the technical questions down first, and then if you want to skip to the end of the video kind of to find out pricing and everything, you can do that as well. The next question is, what are things you recommend to making recovery easier?
So it's common sense generally. Don't get too sucked into, I should take these supplements and I should use that cream, or I should use, I should be eating this or that or the other. Generally speaking, you want to be in a healthy place. You don't want to turn up for surgery having been stressing yourself out, working hard, or partying hard, and you are generally, run down. You don't want to be in a rundown state. So if you're losing weight, you want to have lost the weight and be steady. So you want to be, and I don't actually mind if you've gained a tiny bit or you're gaining a tiny bit of weight. Obviously, you don't go back up to the unhealthy levels. But you want to have lost the weight, because when you're losing weight, you are in a breaking down your body phase. Catabolic, we call it. You don't want to be in a catabolic phase. You want to be in a steady phase or a little bit anabolic, rebuilding the body. That's what you do when you go to the gym.
Okay, so and that is what happened to me, by the way. When I went for my pre-op consultation with the NHS, they said to me, look, we're going to give you another 6 weeks. We want to just make sure that you're maintaining this weight, because I lost a catastrophic amount naturally. They did offer me like the injections and everything, but I did want to do everything naturally myself. So I went to the gym, ran and everything like that. And then they said to me, look, Jazz, we know that you've got your pre-op consultation. We'll take your bloods and everything now, but we need to see you at a steady pace for 6 weeks at least. So I did have to do that as well. So just because you lose the weight straight away doesn't mean that you're ready for surgery. You need to maintain that weight, which is what you're
exactly. So that's one thing. Obviously, the smoking. Don't mind too much about drinking, as long as you're not a heavy drinker. You can be normal, whatever, and then probably stop drinking and generally again go back. When dry January, probably you feel quite good actually. So you want to be in that state where you feel good, want to be eating healthily, you want to be drinking water, you want to, if you take vitamins and supplements, fine. Be careful about supplements, especially herbal supplements and things like that, because you need to know where they're coming from. Quite a lot of herbal supplements make you bleed more. So we worry about those. Exercising, fine. You can be exercising leading up to surgery. You don't have to do lots of this, that, or the other exercise. Just be yourself. Come in when you're in a good place rather than a rundown or whatever, for whatever reason, place that you tend to do better.
Okay. And then obviously people want to know how it makes it how that makes it easier for recovery. So obviously making sure you're healthy before.
Yeah, it just means that because surgery is an assault on your body. Okay? Cutting into you is an assault, which will make you unwell in a certain way, in a post-surgery way. So if you are already in a good, healthy place, I'll bring you down a bit with surgery. It means that you will recover faster. If you're already down here somewhere, I'll take you down further. And you've got all that much further to go to recover.
And that's why I feel like I've recovered so well.
You're in a good place.
Definitely in a good place. Before surgery, was going to the gym, eating healthily. I wasn't forcing myself to be something I couldn't maintain. And that was really important for me. So I was eating a little bit of takeout here and there. I was never restricting myself for what I wanted or what my body craved, but I just made sure I maintained.
You're not going for fry-ups every day.
No, exactly. Still, but just looking after myself, enjoying, not forcing myself to be something I'm not, making myself unhappy. So going into surgery, I was really healthy, really happy. So it made recovery so much easier for me. I'd say within I think about third week, I was up and doing stuff. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was definitely up doing a lot more than they would recommend. But I feel like that is because before surgery, I was in a healthy state.
Again, coming back to the BMI thing, people with a healthy BMI recover faster.
Yes, so that's another part as well. Perfect. Question 6 is: would you recommend having a breast reduction before you have kids?
Yes,
in my situation, 100%,
if they're bad enough, and you have gone through all the consequences, the scars, the being not able to breastfeed, the risk of losing your nipple. So, or if you don't lose them, they will be numb. Almost always they're numb because we do cut all the way around them, so all the nerves get disconnected that give you feeling. So they're not as sensitive. They don't react hot and cold the same way. So that will change. As long as you have come to terms with that, Yeah, have it done younger, because walking around with big breasts is awful. You know,
Yeah, it's so
you can't
debilitating.
exercise, you can't swim, you can't hug people without being embarrassed. You get
Yeah.
sore underneath, backache, neck ache. You can't find clothes that fit.
Yeah.
You have to wear baggy clothes to hide them. You get comments,
The
whatever.
sexualization. There's so
All that.
many
So there's so many things that ruin people's lives. So
having
actually, if a
big breasts.
young
Yeah.
woman wants to have it done, I have no problem with it, so long as they
They
are very
understand
clear about the consequences, and you weigh up what is
the
less
pros and
bad.
cons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what you're in a bad situation now. Yes, it's not perfect. There are bad consequences afterwards, the breastfeeding, etc. Which one would you rather have? And you know what?
100%.
Most women would rather have all the
Breast reduction,
consequences.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
And as well, another thing to think about as well is that when you do have a child, recovery is going to be a little bit harder. And I say that not because your body's not going to recover correctly, but with my 2-year-old, obviously, even though I had the support around me, his dad was there and everything like that, he still wanted mummy's love. He still wanted me to pick him up. It was still that thing of I wanted to get up, I wanted to clean, I wanted to do. So that natural mummy instinct doesn't go away. You're still going to end up doing things that you maybe shouldn't be doing anyway. Like there was multiple times I went to go pick him up and I was like, oh my God, no, I shouldn't do this. So there's...
And 2-year-olds, the terrible twos, that is the toughest time. So you actually did this surgery almost, and I did say to you, look, I'm worried about you having a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Because they want to be picked up. They won't crawl onto your lap.
Yeah. They are very demanding and everything like that. So
in the supermarket or whatever, it's all at the peak.
So if you don't have that support around you so that you can even do those things, because in my comments, a lot of single mums were saying that I found it really hard as a single mum to look after my child. I mean, they were 4,
so you may want to wait until they're 3+.
Yeah, for that breast reduction anyway. And then it's like, do you want to go another 3 years after having your child with bigger breasts? You can't do the soft plays. I struggled with all of it. I struggled with running around after him in the park. You know, all of those things do lead to consequences after the breast reduction, especially when you have kids. So I would always suggest
think about it. Basically,
100%.
You can cope, but you just need to be.
It's going to be that little bit,
and you might need extra backup. That's family helping you out and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to come to my condition specifically.
Yeah.
Before I came to you, I explained that I was diagnosed with gigantomastia from one of the surgeons that I had got a consultation with. So I wanted to ask you, what is gigantomastia / macromastia?
They're both kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
There are probably slightly technical differences in terms of the definition in the textbooks, but I won't go into that. What gigantomastia, macromastia means is that you might be a totally normal body size. Okay, so if you didn't have these breasts, your BMI would be 25, say, or below. And sorry, not normal, but lower.
Yeah.
But you end up with these huge breasts that just wouldn't stop growing for whatever reason. The hormone signal that kicked in at puberty just kept going.
Yeah.
And they just grew and grew and grew and grew. And that's probably what happened with you.
Yeah.
They start growing and they keep growing. And your breasts typically are meant to stop growing when you hit 22, but sometimes they keep going beyond that as well. So there's that. And then not gigantomastia, not macromastia, but large breasts is where you just are, it's your parent, your mum, or your dad's side, whoever,
it's genetic from both sides.
Was large breasted, and proportionately it varies hugely. There are a lot of women who have large breasts because they are heavier.
Okay. So your weight does contribute to
your breast
how
tissue,
big your breasts
a large proportion of your breasts is fat tissue.
Yes.
And so if you reduce your body fat, then your breast size will go down.
Yeah, and in some women that is a thing. So if you feel like as a woman your breasts are quite large, but you're wondering why, and you are quite large within your body fat yourself, try losing weight first. Obviously, I knew from me losing 20 kg that my breasts, there was no way that I was going to lose.
And I get women coming to my clinic who say, look, you know what? They don't change. I've gained weight, they don't get bigger. I've lost weight, they get smaller.
And that's the same with me. Mine just kept on getting bigger. No matter how small I was or how big I was, they just kept on growing.
They are what they are. So exactly. So at that stage, you've got to a point where you go, look, I've tried to lose as much weight as I can. They're still huge. They still bother me. So it doesn't matter if you're macromastia, gigantomastia. The NHS doesn't distinguish, strictly speaking.
Yeah.
It's whether there are all these.
There's so many criteria. Yeah.
Each health board, or whatever they're called these days, CCGs and etc. Each NHS region in the UK has different criteria. You must, I mean, some of them want you to be a BMI of 25.
Yeah.
Some of them want you to, they want to make sure that you're losing more than 500 grams from each breast. You can't tell that always.
Yeah.
Some of them want you to have maintained weight for so long.
There's so many different.
To be honest, you are one of the lucky ones getting a breast reduction on the NHS. I have to say, it's really difficult these days.
It is. I mean, really, I fought for 5 years to get a breast reduction. I was 17 when I first went to the NHS about my breast, and of course, the age thing was a big issue. Then it was the weight, and then it was the COVID hit, and they said that they weren't taking on any more plastic surgery patients. So there were so many things that I had went through with the NHS, and all that was going on in my life was depression, sadness, struggling to lose weight.
And the problem is, a breast reduction patient is not dying from having big breasts. Okay, it's not cancer, it's not an accident. It's not, and so therefore you tend to be prioritized lower down. This is an operation that you can wait for. And it doesn't matter if you wait for ages. It's, whereas if you have cancer,
how they look at it.
You have to have surgery now. If you have an accident, you've got to be fixed now. Whatever, those kind of things. So unfortunately, breast reductions are lower priority in the NHS, and those were the first things to get pushed aside with COVID.
Because I've been on the waiting list for my breast reduction. I got put on the waiting list about 1.5 years ago, and one of the things that they said to me was, "We've had an influx of breast cancer patients. We've had to push you back."
Exactly.
So they always came first, which of course we cannot.
And also those patients were being pushed back
as well themselves
because of COVID. So that's fair enough.
100%. So with the NHS, it's very difficult to get a breast reduction
in most parts of the country. You are doing really, really well if you get onto a waiting list.
It was hard, but I'm grateful and I'm lucky that I didn't. I did try
to be fair, you were an extreme case. So that's generally
that does help. That kind of added to it as well.
That's what classic these days. That's probably what you have to be to get
that
onto
breast
an NHS
reduction
waiting list. If you're not an extreme case, it's going to be pretty
difficult.
I reckon,
but again, this is why we talk about possibly looking at the alternative of getting your breast reduction done privately, and obviously me and Nav will talk about that at the end. With having obviously gigantomastia, one of the main questions is, will my breasts grow back?
Maybe. Okay, because and that's true for anyone. Again, without gigantomastia. So you're saying with or without gigantomastia, the breasts can grow back? It's difficult to predict. So what makes your breasts grow? Gaining weight, pregnancy, breastfeeding. They all make hormonal changes. There are a small group of women that their breasts grow for the first time at menopause.
Oh wow!
Okay, really small. I've done a breast reduction in an 83-year-old.
Oh wow!
Because they grew, when she was older.
Oh,
and she struggled to get it done, because they kept saying you're too old.
Oh, bless her.
And so that's the other thing.
And she's got more risks of complications because she's older.
From bleeding.
Wow.
So, and a lot of parts of the a discriminate against you because of your age, which I think is unfair.
Oh yes, definitely.
Well. I don't discriminate. I'm doing a breast reduction tomorrow on a patient that's 66, I think.
66, yeah.
So, I don't. It is, if you are safe to be operated on, I think
why not? 100%.
Fair, but not everywhere thinks like that.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind. So life carries on. I can't stop life.
Of course. How your body works.
So not only might they get bigger and grow back, they may droop, as that's what happens. Time and life are not kind to breasts. Anyone's breasts, unfortunately.
No one's.
And so they may droop, and you may then feel you want to have them lifted up again, and that might be another operation, and you probably won't get that on the NHS.
Yeah, no, definitely won't.
So
that would be something I have to.
They can do.
I usually tell people it's kind of like a 50% chance, isn't it?
Maybe a bit less than that, actually,
really?
to be honest. It's unusual for them to grow back again, but it happens every now and again.
Oh, that's good to know, though. That's good to know. It is possible. There is a chance that it can happen.
Small chance.
Small chance, okay, which is good, which is good to know. I always thought it may be like a 50% chance.
No, it's probably less than that.
Less than that, okay.
Crossed,
Okay, and obviously going to the gym, maintaining a healthy weight, all of these things can
I guess
help.
So. It's at the end of the day, again, be careful about getting too into, if I do this, they won't grow back.
But there's things that you can do to
it's always good to be healthy. Maintain a healthy weight, maintain a good diet. But wear a bra is the other thing also, actually. Wear support, because I know a lot of people say bras make no difference. I
No,
swear
they
make.
definitely
Keep
do.
them lifted up, they will not droop as much with time. So you can keep them looking younger, perkier for longer by wearing a good support bra. That's why I tell my breast implant patients, my reduction patients, or my breast patients, wear a bra 24/7 if you can.
Yeah.
Because nighttime they're trying to go sideways.
Yeah.
Daytime they're trying to go south.
Yeah. Okay. So unless you need to wear like a strapless top or something.
On occasion, of course. Yeah. You know, I would
and
say
bras are not comfortable.
I
do you
would
know
say
what
it's
I mean?
it's like looking after a car.
Yeah.
If you park it in a garage overnight, it'll last longer. But the
okay.
odd night, weekend in a field, in the rain, is fine. So, you know, yes, you can go without a bra, skimpy bikinis, strapless, whatever, fine, just don't make it a habit.
Yeah. Wearing bras are actually good. Obviously, they're uncomfortable. It depends on how big your boobs are, what type of bra you're wearing. Obviously, we don't want to be wearing underwire bras all the time.
No, I mean, daytime wear a sports bra, and then nighttime can just be a crop top, like a running top, that just pushes things in.
Okay, so they're not falling all over the place.
Exactly,
And you probably sleep better as well, to be honest.
Because a lot of women get one, especially now you're wearing a sports bra for surgery. I bet you that becomes a habit.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So the last question before we move into obviously pricing and everything is my boobs the biggest case you've ever seen?
Almost. Second
biggest.
Second.
Okay.
So the biggest was also an NHS patient.
Okay.
And she was a few centimeters more than you, 56 or something.
Oh wow.
And I think I removed about 3.5 kilos from one breast and 3.2 kilos from the other one.
Oh wow.
And she had free nipple grafts as well. And she did really well.
Yeah.
Actually, another black lady.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was she another black?
Yeah.
Do you find, and sorry to go off track here, but do you find that in black women that we tend to have larger breasts when it comes to your reductions in terms of the case?
Yeah, I think that's true. Having said that, can't answer you honestly because I work in South London.
Okay, so predominantly
NHS in Guy's and St Thomas's, private in Battersea, and our population here, we have a large black population here.
Yes, of course.
So maybe I'm seeing a disproportionate.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the breast reductions I do in black women are larger.
Yeah.
Compared to other groups.
Okay, cool. That's actually good to know.
True,
yeah, because I've always wondered that because, especially within my family, we all have big breasts, and that's mum and dad's side.
Whilst we're on the topic of talking about breast reduction in black women, black women tend to not want to be made too small. Yeah. There's definitely that, please don't make me too small. Try and keep me something. And actually, that's difficult. Okay, it's not always possible to do. And keep the nipple alive, or not give you this fat necrosis problem, or problems with the infection healing afterwards. We have to work with what you've got up here, and if you've got all your breast volume down here, preserving some of that and being able to move it up here. So actually, that's one thing that's worth keeping in mind, is that you may end up being made a bit too small. Okay. I mean, I was fine with that when we explained, that was the first thing you did explain to me as well, when we had our consultation, and on the day, is that, look, I'm going to do what I can do. So I always say, I can't promise you a cup size. I can't promise you that you're going to be this, that, or the other, because it just doesn't work that way. Okay. I will do what I think to give you a safe operation, and I will do my very best to keep you proportionate. And I will then take into account what you've asked me, is like, can you make me a bit bigger or a bit smaller? And also, don't be tricked by the first size you see when you get your breast done, because I mean, I'm only 5 weeks post-op, but they definitely filled out within themselves. They definitely look a bit more perky, a little bit more full, and I'm really, really happy with them. At first, I was like, oh my God, these are tiny, but I was happy regardless. But now they're definitely gone into themselves. So we're going to move into the pricing questions. So the first question that I have for you in terms of pricing is, does the size of your breast depend on how much you're going to pay for the breast reduction? No. Okay. So all of them pretty much stay on the same scale in pricing? They generally tend to be the same price regardless. Sometimes I might factor in a little bit of extra time. Okay. If you are very big, that might end up costing you a bit more, because we get charged almost by the hour for the time in the operating theatre. Okay. So that may be, but generally speaking, no. Our pricing is pretty much set for a breast reduction, regardless of whether it's big or small. And the reason for that, I always say, and I explain this to my residents and the trainee plastic surgeons, it's not, when you go for a haircut, it's not what's ending up on the floor that's important. It's what's left on the head. Okay? So you might have really long hair and want to have a bob, or you might have slightly longer hair, not so long hair, and want to go for a bob. It's going to be the same cost. That's how
it's the same result.
It's the same result. So actually, the breast reduction, the result ends up being pretty similar.
Okay.
So I don't see them as
being
different. But a lot of new surgeons get scared by big breast reductions, and I'm kind of going, look, don't be scared. Actually, at the end of the day, it's not what's on the floor; it's what's left on the head.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you got to think of.
Perfect.
And so no, it doesn't vary in that sense. It shouldn't. I mean, some surgeons may price it differently, but I don't.
Okay. And how much is a breast reduction?
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, so it's not cheap. If you want to get it done privately, by a good surgeon in a good hospital, and
good aftercare,
good aftercare, a surgeon who's trained properly, a hospital that's regulated properly. With me, it's about 11K. Okay, and that's a straightforward breast reduction.
Yeah.
If we're adding in implants, as we talked about earlier, add another couple of grand onto that. So I think it's about 13K.
Okay.
So it is not a cheap business. I know you can go abroad and get it done cheaper, and a lot of people are doing that, but be really careful. I get one complication per week in my NHS practice from a patient who's had a problem with surgery abroad, and it's not, the problem isn't that it's bad surgeons or bad hospitals abroad.
No, of course.
Good surgeon, good hospital abroad. The problem is the distance. If you had a problem now at 5 weeks, you wouldn't be in Turkey.
No, I'd be here. You'd be here. And then that's more hassle on the NHS.
Yeah, the distance, trying to get hold of your surgeon and get advice and get on a Zoom call. Quite often they go, look, sorry, go to the NHS.
Yeah.
Go to the
that
100%. I think is wrong, but you do.
And not even that. There's always going to be a language barrier as well. One of the things that people say is that they have a translator, and they have to get in touch with a translator to talk to the surgeon. And I'm not going to lie, the surgeons in other countries are back to back. I remember my friend saying that she had hers at 6 o'clock in the morning, then he had another one at 1 o'clock. They're back to back, so they're not even as accessible as we need them to be. Now, that's not me saying to not go to another country to get your breast reduction done. If you've put the existential research into it and you feel comfortable doing that, and you've put everything in place for you to do that, go ahead. Because I was going to do it.
I don't think it's a great idea, but I would say that.
No, especially after getting the care that I have here.
I think it's good to be close to your surgeon for the weeks after surgery.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it is weeks. So
I don't know what I would do if I didn't have you and Lauren here to talk to.
And I do look after patients from abroad. So I get patients from the Middle East and India, Pakistan, whatever. I get them to move to London for a few weeks. It's not like go there for a few days, fly back again. And then we don't dress it up like a holiday. Nothing. It's treated like a serious business of surgery, and that, I think I wish that's what they would do over there.
100%. I mean, you get treated really nice. You get picked up in nice cars and everything like that. But once the 4 days is over, and because I mean, even us, we did a 1 week post-op. I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't contact you. I would have been a mess. I would have really been a mess. And again, getting an appointment within the NHS and they don't know what even happened in the surgery. That's
exactly.
Another...
You're seeing someone completely new in the NHS who's never met you before, because all your documentation, everything is abroad.
Over there,
and so it can get messy. And so what ends up happening is you have what is a small problem. And then there's a delay, and that small problem turns into a big problem because of that delay. You've tried to get hold of your own team, you've tried to contact your surgeon, you've left a message, they haven't got back to you, or they get back to you, oh, you have nothing to do with me anymore. You get that, the bad ones say, nope, not my problem anymore, go to the NHS. And by the time you've done that and you go to the NHS, that small problem has turned into a big problem. And if you are close to your surgeon, geographically, actually it means that the small problem can be tackled before it's allowed to become a big problem, and small problems can be solved quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely. 11,000 roughly for the actual surgery, and then 13 if you want to add the implants in.
Roughly speaking, exactly.
And then my last question is, do you have some sort of payment plans, or do you do any sort of financing?
They exist. I don't encourage people to use payment plans. They tend to be a bit of a rip-off. The interest rates are really high, like credit card rate, so be careful. You will end up paying way more than the original price, so be really careful. If you can get a standard bank loan, that kind of thing, great. They're much fairer ways of that's a much fairer way to borrow money.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tend to ask you to do. There are companies. There's a we have got a company. We haven't really used them that regularly because I'd end up saying this. And actually, at the end of the day, I tend to say, look, you know what? Try and save up the money before, because what happens is you don't. Let's say you're unhappy with for whatever reason, and that is a possibility with any surgery, with any cosmetic surgery in particular. If you're unhappy, you don't now want to kind of be sat there going, and now I have to pay for it for the next 5 years. Okay, I did this, it's not quite what I hoped for, and now I'm stuck with it for 5 years. And that's going to make you feel even worse. So be really careful about credit.
So you guys don't offer a payment plan or financing?
We don't directly, no. We've talked about it. We might look into it. It's not my favourite thing. Yeah. But, ask, and we can put you in touch with companies, but be really careful.
Be really careful.
Yeah. Okay. And at the end of the day, the finance is not really to do with us. It's between you and the finance company.
The lender.
The finance company just pays the hospital, pays us, and that's it. We're done. And now you're stuck with a deal between you and the finance company. Yeah. And they can't. It's not like a car loan where if you stop making the payments, they come and take the car away.
They can't come and take your reduction away.
That's why the deals tend to be really strict, hard, and fairly harsh interest rates and expensive.
So and you don't want to end up with any sort of CCJs or anything to do with your credit. So if if you can get a standard bank loan or something that's really low in APR, it's better off to apply for that so you can pay for it directly than to get any sort of financing or anything like that. But if you do want to think about it, definitely just contact the clinic and just let them know.
We can talk to you about that. We can give you options.
Okay, perfect. Well, honestly, it was amazing speaking to you. I really do appreciate everything that you've done for me today, and obviously everyone else that has asked the questions. I know everyone's so eager. I mean, so eager to get this to get this video up, because everyone they've seen how I've recovered, they've seen how I look, and they're just like, I need that now. I want that.
Yeah, so come talk to. At the end of the day, you might not be sure that you want to do this. And we can help you with that, because we're not just going to go, you must have surgery. Yeah. I say this all the time, if I think surgery is not a great idea for you, I will tell you and I won't operate on you. That's another thing you want. You don't, because at the end of the day, this is, especially private cosmetic surgery, is a business. Yeah. So there is a pressure sometimes to go through with it. But no, I actually don't want an unhappy patient saying, why did you do this to me? I wish I'd never bothered. Yeah. I wish you told me this.
That's the last thing you want.
I'd rather you suss out that you shouldn't have surgery. So if you're kind of teetering, should I, shouldn't I? Come talk to us. We'll help you hopefully decide.
Perfect. Cool. Amazing. And again, really happy with my surgery. Thank you again. I wish you all the best. We'll see each other again anyway.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing each other.
And definitely, guys, from my perspective, someone who's had surgery with Nav, he is 100% trustworthy, and I would have surgery with him again and again and again. I would definitely choose you. So thank you so much, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.